So I'm glad that we came to this Northwest territory, and I met my new wife here, Kristine, and to bring an awareness about love, peace, and harmony, because of the great messengers that we were destined to come together to bring awareness through this ceremony that's representing Chief South and one of my grandmothers, Sacagawea, 3 generations ago, as a grandson of hers. So she has sent us many messages. And my wife has a lot of these messages, and I'm choking up, so I think it's time for her to speak on behalf of the messages that you would like to.
Thank you all for being here. It just touches my heart so greatly that we've all come together to be as one. So last fall, when Chief South appeared to me and asked me to have a sweat lodge put up in Rainier, Washington, and I had no exposure to the Native American culture at that point, I brought the message forward. And a few weeks later, I received word that a Shoshone man by the name of BlueThunder would be coming to facilitate that sweat lodge. And when he arrived, we remembered each other for a long, long time, for many thousands of years back. And as we continued for 4 days of purification, one to the north, one to the south, one to the east, and one to the west, as we did our sweat lodges and purified ourselves, many messages came through. And Chief South said that he himself had infected the web of life because he was so disappointed. And which of us here has not felt disappointment in our fellow man? He was disappointed that we couldn't all just get along. Because there's a little known thing about Chief South, and that is that his mother was white and his father was Native American. So he had a special place in his heart for the cultures coming together. And we learned that recently from his 4th generation granddaughter in Hawaii. Her name is Aka. She's the 44th generation temple keeper of the Temple of Pele at Mauna Loa. And she shared that story with us because her grandfather was kidnapped from a pier in Seattle and put upon a fishing vessel and forced in slavery to fish. And when he reached Hawaii, as I would have done, he jumped ship and became her grandfather there, her great-great-great-grandfather. And he was the 4th son of Chief Seattle. And he remembered that his mother, his grandmother, was a fair maiden with long golden locks. And the natives believed her to be a goddess. So they decided they wanted her and took her to their village. And instead of being upset about this, he decided to accept it and came in love and peace and bore many children and bore great blessings to the village, which is a great lesson for all of us, and that's what inspired Chief South to be who he was. So when the white nations and the native nations couldn't come together, it really broke his heart. But what he came and said to us in the lodge is that the reason that we have too much rain here in the Northwest is he's still crying. Because his emotions were locked in the web. And nobody prayed for him. Nobody came in a good way and offered prayers to release that. And he asked that we all come together and do that. And then we started receiving the messages from Sacagawea. Sacagawea was born in Salmon, Idaho. She was also kidnapped. There was a lot of kidnapping back in the day. And she was taken back east where later in her life she chose to leave her husband and her children behind to come and lead Lewis and Clark on the expedition here to the Northwest. All the way to the Pacific Ocean. And as the expedition was coming across the United States, they ran out of food and they were starving and they were cold when they reached Salmon, Idaho. And who did she run into but her brother, who remembered her? And the people of Salmon, the Shoshone people, gave them refuge and food and horses. And that's the only reason they made it to the Pacific coast. There's a beautiful bronze statue of her in Wyoming where BlueThunder's wonderful son Winterhawk is laid to rest. And it shows her holding a sand dollar that she found here on the Pacific coast. And she gave that sand dollar to Chief Washakie of Fort Washakie in Wyoming when she returned. And it was his most prized possession. He wore it all the time. So it was bridging all the way from here in Washington all the way to Wyoming. And she too was disappointed because she believed with all of her heart that if she taught the white nations the ways of Mother, that they would see that it was a glorious way to live and they would choose to live that way too. And we could all live in harmony on the land. But that was not the case. And her heart was broken and she cried many tears. So she asked us to heal that for her as well. For you see, on my mother's side of the family, my family comes from Salmon, Idaho. My great-great-grandfather, George Ellis, is the very man who killed and persecuted the Shoshone people and forced them on the Fort Hall Reservation. There's no accident, no coincidence, but a divine synchronicity that I sit here in this Caucasian body, loving this beautiful red man whose families have been cursing each other since the 1800s, to show that the time to put all of that is behind us and that that is no more and that there is only love. For on this day, all are released from that. As we put those prayers into this fire, that is no more. And that is the story of how we came here to be on this day, the two of us, inspired by our heritage, inspired by our unconditional love for Mother Earth, for each other, and for each and every one of you equally. And we ask you to consider letting go any differences that you might have with anyone who you might feel is doing something that is not okay in your world, for they're doing exactly what they need to be doing for their own evolution. And when we hold judgment against them, we hold them in that behavior. Something to consider. So I'm going to offer a prayer now to the fire that all that happened between the red and white nations through our family lineage be brought back to the 0 point and reset with love as the Creator intended love to be. And that all those stories I just spoke of are no more. And there is only love. And there was only the divine intent of Chief South and Sacagawea to show love and to show the way. And I will choose from this day forward to see that they have succeeded. It may have taken them a little longer than they thought, but they have succeeded. And so it is.